All right. Hello, my name is Gabriel Portolese, and I'm doing my final project on Walla Walla. Town so great they named it twice. For the destination image, Walla Walla is where modern meets old. The town started off as an Indian settlement, and then it became an establishment for the fort and his piers, and to a trading outpost, and to a farm town, and now it's kind of a hippie old town hybrid. And it loves to embrace its past as well as its future. It loves to keep up with modern times as well as supporting the farming tradition and the vineyards that has made it such a huge attraction it is today. Because in the past 3 decades, the wine industry has blown up and it's become the main. It's become what's made Walla Walla so big recently. Comparing Walla Walla to other destinations, there's Yakima. Yakima and Walla Walla are very similar. Um, Yakima is another kind of smaller town in eastern Washington. They have similar populations, however, Yakima is much bigger. Um, and Yakima also has a big wine industry, not as big as Walla Walla. Yakima is also considered more dangerous than Walla Walla, so Walla Walla has a lot more tourists per year than Yakima, but they should be compared because they're only about 2 hours away. And then there's Spokane, which Spokane and Walla Walla do not have as much in common as Yakima does. However, they both help each other out. A lot of people fly into Spokane to visit Walla Walla, which helps Walla Walla out, and it also helps Spokane out. Um, and they're only about 2.5 hour drive, so it's very good for Walla Walla, being a small town, to have kind of a bigger, moderate city nearby with a big airport. Location. So Walla Walla is located in eastern Washington, the Columbian Basin, and it experiences hotter summers and cooler winters, and it's mostly dry and arid year-round. To the east are the Blue Mountains and the Blue Hills, and then to the west is the Columbia River and then the Cascades. To the north and south is just more of the Columbia Basin. It's located about 4 hours away from Seattle, Portland, and Boise, and then it's about 2 hours away from Spokane, and then like 50 minutes away from the Tri Cities. So it might seem like out of there, but it's not too far out of there in the middle of nowhere. So it has easy accessibility. And it's the busiest time of the year is in the summer because that's when it's the hottest. It's about mid 80s from May to August. It's very nice there during that time. The attractions, the biggest attraction is wine. Um, it's mostly a summer thing, but wine brings in the most tourists. They have a lot of festivals for it. They bring in a bunch of local artists to play music. They bring in a bunch of, locally grown food. They bring in from the farmer markets, so it brings in a lot of people to wine, a lot of festivals, and then there's the historical landmarks because Walla Walla has a very interesting history that not many people actually know about. From the Fort Walla Walla, which is the fort and its piers, the Women Mission Historical Site, and Women College. They all help introduce the history and wacky history that is Walla Walla, and also the history behind the name, which is a Native American tribe. Walla Walla is also surrounded by a lot of untouched nature, such as the Blue Mountains. Not many people know about the Blue Mountains, and so it's nice to go and hike there and camp there because it's not as well known as the Rockies or like the Cascades. And there's also the Columbian River, which is very nice, very big river that just runs right through Washington. And then there's the Blue Hills, which are gorgeous, and the Blue Hills. Walla Walla also has a lot of quirky food restaurants, a lot of more hip ones, because chefs from across the world like to go to Walla Walla because of their food, the freshly grown food, and very nice wine. So many chefs go there, and so the restaurants are a must. These attractions affect push and pull. Walla Walla will push others to experience its unique culture, from its small town aesthetic, the surrounding nature, and up to date food. Walla Walla will satisfy your needs for a relaxing time. The community is very proud of its welcoming nature and will treat you with much grace. It will pull you in because you can like in New York or LA, you can find wine and food that's better than Walla Walla. but you don't get you're in a huge city, in a bustling city, Walla Walla, you're able to relax and not to feel so stressed out. So that's the unique part about it is you can have this amazing culture, but in a very small city. The infrastructures and facilities. Walla Walla is accessible by car on US Route 12, and currently WashDOT has a plan to expand US Route 12 from 2 lanes to 4 lanes by 2022, which will help support more tourists traveling by car from, I think it's from the Tri Cities to Walla Walla. And Walla Walla has its own regional airport, however, it's pretty small. And then the Tri Cities also have their own airport, which is a lot bigger and can access a wider range of places. And there's Spokane, which I talked about. Several railroads cut through Eastern Washington and go through Walla Walla as well. So it is accessible by railroad. And then for infrastructures, Walla Walla has a lot of Airbnbs. They have a lot. So if you don't want to have a hotel, if you think that kind of breaks the experience of it, you can just get your own house. Um, but Walla Walla did also recently renovate its tallest building, the Marcus Whitman Hotel and Conference Center, to accommodate for more tourists. Demographics. Well, since wine is the biggest, attractive, attraction, then a lot of people over 21 are going to want to go. However, there are still many family-oriented things to do that don't involve wine, such as just art festivals, farmers market, and outdoor activities. Um, but Walla Walla still attracts many young people that are above 21 because it's kind of a hippie place to go. They have very a vibrant culture, and then it also attracts a lot of older people because of its small town feel and then the hotter climate. And just a bunch of outdoorsy people also love going to Walla Walla, because the whole industry, they're dependent on wine, they're dependent on their farming, and they take a lot of pride in it. The economic impact of tourism. I mean, the wine industry, it produces over 100 million United States dollars a year, which is huge, and it wouldn't be that big if it wasn't for tourism. So that is probably one of the biggest impacts is just it helps sell the wine and it also just helps bring a bunch of people into town. It helps bring the name out there, but sometimes it's a bit too much because it's a small town. It's built like a small town. So sometimes it is most of the time it's hard to accommodate for that many people, especially in the downtown area. But for the most part, I mean, tourism is the biggest way they make money. Over the summer, that's their biggest booms where they are able to expand the most and have the most jobs in that time. The environmental impact of tourism. Well, as Walla must expand because they have to because they're getting bigger. That expansion encroaches on their farms and vineyards, which is something they don't want to do because that's their whole like kind of gimmick, and that's what makes them. That's what brings in tourists. So it's it's very difficult to do because you have to expand, and we also by doing that you have to ruin the nature they are so proud of. And then by a bunch of people coming over the summer, a bunch of people go to the Blue Mountains, and you know that will impact the environment as well as the Columbia River, and then just general pollution such as noise pollution, concerts, and then CO2 emission from cars and trucks, and just general waste. Some strengths that Walla Walla has is the yearly festivals, the delicious wine, and the vibrant culture, as well as the small town feel. The weaknesses is it is hard to get to. It's got a weak transportation system. It's not as well known, and it also has a weird name to some people. Some people hear the name and they think you're talking about some kind of food. And the opportunities they can grow. They can become more well known. More than just the Pacific Northwest. They can add more activities for families, improve transportation systems, and improve the downtown area. Threats. It can be difficult to expand because of the surrounding farms and vineyards. Climate change. If the crops are bad one year, then it's not going to be as good for tourism. And then pandemic, obviously, I'm going to go into that more later. The vineyards and other locations besides Walla Walla, such as Yakima. Like if Yakima blows up, then that's a threat to Walla Walla. Some recommendations. Walla Walla, I feel like already has a vast number of attractions to improve on, so they just need to get more tourists, and more tourists year round. Mostly, a lot of people just come during the summer. They need more people during the fall, winter, and spring. That is something they have to improve on, as well as their transportation and expanding the downtown or improving the downtown area to host more people. Um, let's see. Walla Walla has a small power distance since most of the tourists and residents are from the Pacific Northwest. It has weak uncertainty because if they have a bad crop season, then the main attractions won't be as nearly as nice. It's mostly femininity attraction because the culture in Walla Walla is revolved around the nature surrounding it. And it's a collectivism because most of the fun that comes with Walla Walla is experiencing a new culture and the activities you're used to and meeting new people. Currently, Walla Walla is in the stagnation phase. They are established in their region and have been known for a while, but they haven't had a huge increase or decrease in tourism in the past few years. So I surveyed a bunch of my peers and my family. I kind of just put out on social media for like a day for people to answer. I got around 50 participants aging from 18 to 33. A majority of them are Washington residents and Wazoo students. So I kind of first of all, I just asked them what they knew about Walla Walla before, and I also asked them the first question I asked them if they could go on a trip, and they had to choose between a small town or a big city, which would they choose? And most people chose a big city, which I don't blame. I would have chosen a small town, but so most people chose big city. And I asked them on their opinions, what they know about it. Most people knew about it. Some people had no idea. And at the end of it, I would say, might want to visit was a 31% on what is their overall opinion of Walla Walla. So overall, I think people want to visit it. They just don't know as much about it, or they're not super inclined to go because it's just kind of small. And the impact of COVID on Walla Walla. Um, the summer of 2020 was pretty much a lost year for Walla Walla. They didn't have any of their annual festivals, and a small town like Walla Walla, it greatly depends on tourists. That's where they get a lot of their money. But they also have their agriculture wasn't affected. They were still able to sell food and sell wine across the world. But the lost revenue from tourism was huge. The one benefit of being a smaller town and a small county is that they did recover a lot more than everyone else. Right now, they're in phase 3, and they have nearly 50,000 vaccine doses distributed. And the town of Walla Walla, which is most of the population, the county is a population of 30,000. And the mayor is very optimistic that in a few months, everything should be back to normal. And the summer, they already have festivals lining up for the summer. Thank you. That is my presentation.